My name is Marin Elowen Hart, and I'm 32. I should have noticed the warning signs months ago, but love can turn a smart woman into a devout believer in maybes and second chances. I'd been engaged to Jessica, 29, for 8 months, together for 3 years. The wedding set for next month. 150 guests. Riverside Manor. A string quartet I couldn't pronounce, and a florist who charged by the petal. The whole 9 yards. Last Thursday over pasta, Jessica placed her fork down like a judge about to deliver a verdict. "So," she said, too casual, "I invited Trevor to the wedding." I didn't choke. I set my napkin on the table and let the words breathe. "You invited your ex to our wedding." She smiled as if normalcy could be conjured by dimples and a steady voice. "We're still friends. It would be weird not to invite him." "Jess, that's unusual." Her face hardened a degree. "If you loved me, you'd understand. It shows maturity. We can all be adults about this." "Adults," I repeated, tasting the word. "You want your ex watching you marry me?" She sighed, like I was being quaint. "God, you're being so insecure." "Trevor's happily married now. His wife couldn't make it. She's visiting family overseas, but he'll be there. It's not a big deal." Something in the way she said his wife couldn't make it snagged like a hangnail. Too quick, too rehearsed, like a line she'd practiced in the mirror until it sounded natural. I tilted my head. "What's his wife's name?" A blink. Then, Rebecca, why does it matter?" "Just curious." I smiled softly. "You've met her?" "Of course," she said too defensively. "Several times." "You're right," I said, and I made my voice warm, forgiving, the kind that makes people show you the rest of the deck. "I'm being silly. If Trevor's important to you, then I understand." She looked surprised, then pleased. She kissed my cheek, like reward points had just posted to an account. "See? This is why I love you." That night, with the house soft and dim, I opened my laptop. I found Trevor in a minute. His public profile was tidy, gym proud, aggressively nostalgic. His wife's name was Monica, not Rebecca, and according to her recent posts, she wasn't overseas. She was a dental hygienist who worked 20 minutes from our venue. A photo from yesterday, blue scrubs, coffee, caption, crown and glory. Interesting. I wasn't proud of what I did next, but there's a difference between violating privacy and refusing to be blindfolded. Jessica had left her iPad at my place, still logged into messages. The thread with Trevor was friendly. Too friendly. Lots of remember when, and those were the days, and a particular exchange where he wrote, "Shame it didn't work out between us," and she replied, "Timing is everything." Timing. Our wedding, apparently, was part of that timetable. On Monday morning, I stared at Monica's profile picture, sunlight on her shoulder, laughter caught mid-turn, and decided. I messaged her from my real account. "Hi, Monica. You don't know me, but I'm marrying Jessica next month. She invited your husband, Trevor, to our wedding and told me you were overseas. I see you're local. I wanted to extend a personal invitation. Would love to have you there as my guest. Reception at Riverside Manor on the 15th. Her response arrived within the hour. "Overseas? That's interesting, since I'm at my desk. Trevor told me he has a work conference that weekend. Thank you for reaching out. I'll be there." I felt the room tilt back into balance. Not revenge, clarity. If Jessica wanted her past seated near our future, then the truth deserved a chair too. The week that followed was tense, the way a house feels just before a summer storm. Air charged, curtains unmoving, animals restless. Jessica drifted through checklists, menus, seating charts, pendant lights over the dance floor. She mentioned Trevor casually, like she was testing how the words sounded in my kitchen. I was thinking table 3 for Trevor, closer to us. He won't know many people. "Why table 3?" I asked, rinsing wine glasses we were returning to the rental place. "Farther back would be awkward," she said, then stumbled. "I mean, it's better for photos." "How about with your cousins at table 7? I offered. She frowned. "No, that's too far from—" She cut the sentence into pieces with a smile. "Table 3 is better." Meanwhile, Monica and I traded facts like women who've learned to count receipts before counting promises. Trevor had been coming home late, suspicious about his phone, newly devotional about the gym. Classic signs. She had suspected but lacked proof. I told her enough to confirm the shape of it without sending the messages themselves. It felt wrong to recite Jessica's midnight nostalgia verbatim. Even Betrayal has privacy. But I wasn't going to be the only person in the room without a life jacket. We settled on the rehearsal dinner. Maximum truth, minimum collateral damage on the actual day, if an actual day still existed after this. I told Jessica I'd be a little late to the rehearsal dinner because a friend had car trouble. She rolled her eyes but waved me off. "Don't be long," she said, as if time were a pet I could keep from scratching the furniture. On the drive to Monica's, I rehearsed nothing. Some moments are better unscripted. I'd learned that from a woman who could rehearse a lie until it sounded like memory. Monica stepped outside in an elegant black dress that made grief look like resolve. She opened the passenger door, and for a heartbeat, we were two strangers in a mirror. Different lives, same bruise. "You ready?" I asked. 3 years of marriage," she said, smoothing her skirt, "and he's sneaking around with his ex. Oh, I'm ready." We arrived 40 minutes after everyone else. The private dining room hummed with the polished laughter of families who still believe the night belonged to them. I walked in first. Monica followed a pace behind. At the head table, beside my place card, sat Trevor, comfortable, belonging, like a recurring character returning for his season finale. Jessica stood, forced smiling. "There you are. We were getting—" She froze when Monica entered. The room went pin-drop silent. Trevor's face bleached like paper left in the sun. "Hi, honey," Monica said to him, voice like velvet over steel. "Surprise! My trip got canceled." A clink of silverware. Someone coughed. Jessica blinked, then tried on innocence like a veil. "Monica, I thought you were overseas." Monica tipped her head. "Yeah, that's what Trevor told me about his work conference. Imagine my surprise when Marin reached out to invite me." I stepped forward so no one would have to squint to see the headline. "Everyone, this is Monica, Trevor's wife. She'll be joining us tonight as my guest, since Jessica felt strongly about including Trevor in our celebration." My mother, saint of weathering storms, patted the chair beside her. "Monica, come sit with me." As Monica took her seat, Jessica's smile calcified. She searched my face for a compromise, a late-stage rewrite, mercy confused with weakness. But there's a thin line between patience and pretending, and love can't live on the wrong side of it for long. I folded my napkin and looked at the woman I had planned to marry. My voice stayed even. "Let's eat," I said. "We have a lot to digest." Silence is never truly silent. It has a pitch, thin and panned high, like a wire pulled taut. That's what hummed through the room as Monica sat between my mom and my sister, directly across from Trevor and Jessica. Candlelight trembled. The server's smile stuttered. Someone at the far table whispered grace into a napkin. Jessica tried for normal. "So, Monica," she began, voice a note too bright, "how long have you and Trevor been married?" 3 years, Monica answered, sipping her wine, though apparently I should be asking you how long you've been texting my husband. Silverware kissed plates. A fork fell. Trevor stared at the tablecloth like there might be an exit stitched into the thread. "We're just friends," Jessica said, the lie wearing its Sunday best. Monica slid her phone from her clutch. Her hands didn't shake. "Friends don't text at midnight. Friends don't send shirtless gym selfies. Friends don't reminisce about wine country weekends. Dates that don't line up with your work retreat, Jess." Her thumb hovered. "Should I read a few?" Trevor finally found his voice small and pleading. "Monica, please, not here." "Not here?" Monica's smile had edges. "Where then? At your conference? Or during one of your client dinners Jessica always seems to know about?" My friend Kyle, never the quiet type, breathed a soft "holy hell" and accidentally made it public. Jessica turned to me, tears lacquered, ready-made. "Marin, this is a misunderstanding." "Is it?" I kept my tone even. "Is that why you told me Monica was overseas? Why Trevor's card sits at table 3, close enough to the head table to watch us breathe? Why you invited him to the rehearsal dinner, too?" "You set me up," she hissed. "No," I said, gentle as a fresh bruise. "You set this up. I just invited his wife to the party you planned." Jessica's father pushed back his chair, wood scraping like a verdict. "What the hell is going on?" Monica answered without blinking. "Your daughter's been having an emotional affair with my husband. Maybe more. I'll know soon. She invited him to her wedding and made sure to keep me out of sight." "That's not true," Jessica's voice cracked, the mask slipping. I took my phone out but didn't unlock the thread. Some boundaries are still sacred, even at a demolition. "Should I show everyone the messages where Trevor says, 'Can't wait to see you in your dress'? And you answer, 'It's bad luck for the groom to see it, but not for you'?" Jessica's mother gasped. Her father's face went a color usually reserved for sirens. Her brother Jake stared at Jessica like he'd finally solved a riddle he hated. Trevor stood abruptly, chair legs stuttering. We're leaving. We. Monica laughed once, clean and lethal. No, honey, you can leave. I'm hungry. She turned to my mother. This salmon is excellent. My mother raised her glass, eyes kind and unflinching. To honesty, she said. Half the room drank. The other half sat motionless, as if motion might become complicity. When Trevor slunk out, Jessica unraveled into something loud and graceless. Not grief, entitlement. How dare you humiliate me like this? She spat at me. How dare I asked softly. You invited your ex to our wedding. It wasn't like that. We're just friends with history. History that you were auditioning for a comeback, Monica said, no mercy left to give, while lying about me. Jessica's dad turned to her. Is this true? Have you been inappropriate with this man? Marin is blowing it out of proportion, Jessica snapped. She invaded my privacy. You lied, I said. You told me Monica's name was Rebecca. Jake shook his head. Jess, what the hell? Her poise shattered. You know what? Fine. Yes, Trevor and I have been talking. Yes, I wanted him there. He was the one who got away, okay? I needed to see if I was making the right choice. The room erupted in low thunder, muttered prayers, a dropped napkin, Emma's sharp inhale. Her mother started to cry. Her father stood so fast his chair toppled, clattering like a gavel. At your wedding? He roared. You were going to decide at your wedding? I surprised myself by laughing. Short, not unkind. Relief has a sound, too. Well, I said, reaching into my jacket. That makes this easier. I set a crisp envelope on the table in front of Jessica. Consider this my wedding gift. She blinked, confused. What is it? Itemized receipts, venue, catering, flowers, band, $18,000 total, non-refundable, in my name. Her father's anger went white hot, then white cold. You paid all the deposits? Every penny, I said. Per your preference for traditional, you planned the wedding. I funded it. If you want to keep the bookings for whatever comes next, you can reimburse me. The room absorbed that. Jessica's mouth opened, closed. Her mother's sobs quieted into stunned silence. Emma, finally breaking rank, spoke clearly. Jess, you're an idiot. You had a good woman, and you threw it away for a man who cheats on his wife. Emma, their mother whispered, but there was no conviction in it. Monica stood, gathering her clutch. Speaking of receipts, Shwisham, she said, eyes on the door Trevor had used. Expect to hear from my attorney. She turned to Jessica with a smile that wasn't. You can have him when the state and I are done dividing him. Enjoy the half that's left. Jessica's composure slid into messy, human crying. Loud, unpretty, the kind that thinks volume can drown truth. She reached for me, fingers shaking. Marin, please, we can fix this. I choose you. Right now, I choose you. How generous, I said. After you were caught, you choose me. A chorus of tiny sounds, someone's knife tapping, the server swallowing, Emma's exhale, met that line. Choices are always loudest when they're late. I straightened, looked at the people who had become my almost family, then at the woman who'd asked me to share a name with her. The wedding is off, I said, voice steady. I'll coordinate with your father about reimbursement. Guests will be notified tomorrow. Jessica lunged for dignity and missed. You can't just throw away 3 years. I didn't, I said. You did, the moment you invited him. Her father didn't sit back down. He just nodded once, as if a long, hard math problem had resolved to a single number. We'll be in touch about the money. I turned to the room. I'm sorry for the scene. I had hoped the rehearsal might be the last night we pretended. As I moved toward the door, Jessica's last card went down on the table like a curse. You'll regret this. I paused with my hand on the frame. The dining room reflected in the window, candles, faces, the empty space Trevor left behind. No, I said, without looking back. I'll remember it. That's different. In the hallway, the air felt immediate and honest. Monica caught up to me, heels sharp on tile. You handled that like a surgeon, she said. More like a firefighter, I answered. Everything was already burning. Still, she said softer, thank you for inviting me, for not letting me be the ghost in the story. Ghosts deserve names, I said, and a seat at the table. We stepped out into the night. Somewhere, a train wailed. Somewhere else, a future exhaled. Behind us, A family argued in low, stunned voices, and a woman in white rehearsed new lines she wouldn't get to say in front of an altar. I walked Monica to her car. She squeezed my hand before getting in. "I'll be in touch," she said. "And Marin, you did the brave thing." "The necessary thing," I said. "Brave can come later." When I slid into my own car, my phone lit up. Texts blinking like sirens. From Jessica, "You ruined my life." From Emma, "Call me if you need anything." From Kyle, "Dinner after this? You need a steak in silence." From Mom, "Proud of you. Come home." I drove. The rehearsal dinner would be remembered by a lot of people for a long time, probably as a cautionary tale. For me, it would be the night I learned that love is not proven by how much humiliation you can swallow. It's proven by how much truth you can hold without letting it spill into cruelty. At a red light, I looked at my reflection in the rear view. Makeup intact, spine straight, eyes tired but bright. Decisions made in white dresses aren't always holy. Some are just loud. Mine would be quiet, final, and merciful to the part of me that still wanted to believe. The next 3 days moved like weather, unpredictable, volatile, and strangely cleansing. Jessica's first move was predictable, the love bombing. She showed up at my apartment at 8 p.m. with flowers, roses, the same bouquet she'd once called too cliché for real love. She wore the lingerie I'd bought her for Valentine's Day. Her face was a canvas of tears and mascara, her voice trembling just enough to sound rehearsed. "Please, Marin," she whispered. "Let's just talk. I'll cut him off right now. I'll block Trevor in front of you. I'll prove it." "You already proved it," I said, standing in the doorway. "You used our wedding as a test drive for your doubts. That's not something you fix with a block button." She tried to push past me, hands on my shoulders. "You can't just throw away 3 years of love." "I didn't throw it," I said, steady. "You dropped it." Her face crumpled. "It wasn't like that. I was confused. I just wanted to know if what we had was real." "Confusion doesn't come with deleted messages and lies about names," I said. "That's not confusion, Jessica. That's strategy." She sobbed, reaching again. I stepped back. "Leave," I said quietly, "before I call security." Her mouth twisted. "You'll regret this." "No," I said, "you will." She left. Her perfume lingered like static in the air. By morning, her strategy had evolved. The sympathy tour began. Digital edition. She posted a filtered photo of herself in the kitchen, wine glass in hand, captioned, "Sometimes the people who claim to love you the most are the ones who control you." Then another. "I lost my wedding because my fiancé couldn't handle me having friends." Tagged #toxic love #healing journey. Within hours, mutual friends flooded her comments with heart emojis and pity. But then Monica saw it. Monica with her steady hands and zero patience for dishonesty. She commented under the post, "Innocent friendship? Is that why you told him I was overseas while texting my husband every night?" Then, as if that weren't enough, she attached a screenshot. Just one. Trevor's text. "Remember that weekend in wine country?" Jessica's reply. "Best 48 hours ever." Dated 2 months ago, during our engagement. The internet, merciless as always, did what it does best. Connected dots and lit torches. Jessica's story started to crumble in real time. Comments flipped. Pity turned to disgust. "Girl, this isn't healing, this is cheating. You dodged a bullet, Marin. Maybe therapy before hashtags." Her mother called me that afternoon. "Marin," Linda began, voice trembling with both shame and stubborn pride, "the family is humiliated. Couldn't you have handled this privately?" "I tried," I said. "Jessica made it public when she invited Trevor to the wedding." "But ambushing her like that? Like she ambushed me? With her ex?" I said. "At least I had the decency to do it before the ceremony, not during vows." Silence, then "The deposits? Non-refundable. In my name. 18,000. "That's extortion." "No," I said. "That's consequence." She hung up. That night, the flying monkeys arrived. Jessica's friends, former bridesmaids, cousins, people who hadn't called me in years suddenly wanted to mediate. "She made a mistake," one texted. "She's heartbroken," said another. "Everyone flirts sometimes. It doesn't mean she didn't love you." My response never changed. She invited her ex to our wedding and lied about his wife. Would you marry someone who did that? Silence, always silence after that. Meanwhile, Monica and I stayed in touch. 2 women linked by one man's deceit, though neither of us wanted him. She messaged updates from her divorce proceedings like dispatches from a battlefield. "Trevor's lawyer tried to claim emotional distress," she wrote once. The judge laughed. A week later, found hotel receipts. He booked under fake names. Idiot. Then came the discovery. The second phone. Hidden in the glove compartment of his car, labeled in the plan as business. Except it wasn't business. It was the archive of betrayal. Messages, pictures, and one draft email that froze me mid-read. It was an unfinished note titled, Objection Plan. Trevor had typed, "If you give me the signal during the ceremony, I'll stand up. We can run away together." Jessica's saved response. "That's so romantic, but let me see how I feel in the moment." She was literally going to decide at the altar whether to marry me or elope with him. Monica sent me screenshots with the caption, "You really dodged a bullet, huh?" I forwarded them to Jessica with one line, "You are unwell." Her reply came minutes later, pages long, a manifesto of delusion. "You never understood love," she wrote. "Trevor was my soulmate. You were stability, safety. I settled for you because I thought it was right, but love isn't supposed to feel safe. It's supposed to feel alive." I stared at her words, and something inside me, something that used to ache, simply stopped moving. I forwarded her message to her father with no explanation. His reply came 15 minutes later. 2 words. Jesus Christ. After that, I blocked Jessica's number. By the next week, her father called again, his voice deflated. "Marin, we need the vendor contacts. Jessica wants to cancel formally. We'll reimburse you for all deposits." "All 18,000? A sigh. "Yes." I sent the list. 48 hours later, a check arrived. No note, just a bank logo and silence. It felt like closure disguised as accounting. Meanwhile, Monica was thriving. Divorce finalized in record time. She'd taken half his assets, the house, and, my personal favorite, the boat Trevor once bragged about more than his wife. She texted me a photo, Monica on deck, wine in hand, sunglasses reflecting open water. Caption, "Thanks for the wake-up call." I laughed. For the first time in weeks, it sounded like joy, not defense. Later that night, I stood on my balcony watching rain chase itself down the glass. The city glowed indifferent below me. Betrayal, I realized, doesn't always end in ruin. Sometimes it ends in reclamation, of time, of peace, of self. I didn't get married that month, but I did get something rarer, perspective. The day that should have been my wedding dawned clear and gold, like the universe hadn't read the invitation. The sun came in through the blinds, painting everything warm. I stood in front of my mirror in an old t-shirt, toothbrush hanging from my mouth, and realized I felt lighter than I had in years. My phone buzzed, group chat with my grooms. No, my friends. Kyle. "Steakhouse at 7. Dress code, freedom." I texted back a single thumbs up. At noon, I met them at the golf course. We laughed too hard, played terribly, and toasted to bad aim and good timing. "To Marin," Kyle said, raising his glass, "for dodging a live grenade wearing a wedding dress." I laughed until my eyes watered. That evening, the steakhouse smelled like forgiveness and butter. Halfway through dinner, Kyle's phone lit up. "You need to see this," he said, sliding it across the table. It was Jessica, in the wedding dress, standing at the venue alone. Caption, "The wedding that should have been." Hashtags, #true love means. Forgiveness, #soulmates. Never die. The comments were a slow-motion train crash. Girl therapy. Didn't you cheat on her? Take this down. It's sad now. Even her sister Emma commented, "Jess, stop. You're humiliating yourself." But the one that ended it came from Monica. "Same dress you wore while deciding between your fiancé and my husband. Classy." The post vanished within an hour. Her accounts went private by morning. Life went on. 3 months later, updates trickled in, like gossip carried by the wind. Jessica had moved back in with her parents, still at the same job, posting cryptic quotes about surviving narcissistic abuse that got maybe 2 pity likes from her coworkers. Trevor? Gone to ground. Divorced, broke, half his 401k carved into alimony. Rumor said he was living in a 1-bedroom apartment that smelled like boat wax and regret. Monica sent me a selfie one afternoon, standing beside her freshly painted porch, boat keys in hand, a bright grin on her face. Caption, "My kind of freedom." She'd bought out Trevor's share of the house, gotten promoted, and started dating a cardiologist from her gym. She deserved that peace. And me? I took the refunded deposit money and booked a solo trip to Europe. No plan, no timeline. Just me, a journal, and a camera that didn't care if I smiled. In Florence, I signed up for a cooking class because it sounded safe, human, and far from memory. That's where I met Anna. She spilled wine on my sleeve the first day and laughed so hard she cried. Her laugh sounded like beginning again. By the third class, I told her the whole story over pasta dough and olive oil. She blinked twice, then laughed until tears fell again. "You're serious?" she said. She really invited her ex to her own wedding? "Yep," I said, and I invited his wife. Anna raised her glass. "To women who RSVP with style." We've been writing new chapters since then. No dramatic vows, no stage lights, no ghosts from old group chats, just quiet mornings, open doors, and the kind of love that doesn't need to pass a test to prove it's real. Sometimes Monica texts photos from her boat, Anna waves from the background of my selfies, and somewhere across town, Jessica probably scrolls through them all, wondering how a plan built on deceit became everyone else's fresh start. Last Christmas, Jessica's dad mailed me a card, white envelope, simple handwriting. Inside, one line: "Thank you for showing us who she was before more damage was done." I smiled, tucked it into a drawer, and let the moment be final. Because endings don't always explode. Some just fade quietly, like a candle finally allowed to rest. If there's a moral, it's this: when someone shows you who they are, believe them. And if they ever invite their ex to your wedding, invite the truth. It always shows up dressed perfectly for the occasion.